Those are the top stories. Now, our economy has taken a blow as the rand is struggling amid the coronavirus pandemic. Langa Madonko from the South African Venture Capital and Private Equity Association says the economy will have to be restructured to have a fighting chance. Well, he joins us now via Skype to elaborate. Langa, good morning to you. Just an overriding question first. This word restructure has been in our lexicon for some months now, even ahead of the budget speech by Tito Mboweni in February. Is it a silver bullet?
Well, I think it is part of a process that we have to undertake to get our economy back where it used to be, where the growth numbers were admirable by African standards. And it is, in my view, a silver bullet and is long overdue, in fact, for what we need to do in order for us to get to where we need to be as a country.
What do we have to restructure? What are these things that have to be restructured?
So I think we need to change the way in which we deploy our capital, first and foremost, firstly as the South African government, and then secondly as institutional investors, inclusive of pension funds and other organizations that like insurance companies that are investing in the South African economy. I think we have an immense potential in terms of sectors that could really create the jobs that we desire, taking into consideration that post this lockdown and the epidemic, we're likely to see an increase in the number of people who are unemployed. And we're also likely to see some small businesses disappearing. And we need to take the right steps in order for us to make sure that we can get the economy going again.
What about offshore investments?
In my view, I think at this particular time, we need to pencil down the hatches. We need to focus on the economy at home, because I think most of our offshore investments go into entities that are investing in the developed markets, in the type of things that we should be investing in here at home. And I think if it were me and I were, say, for example, the regulator of financial services, I would be revisiting the position, maybe even on an interim basis, to say more capital needs to be deployed into the local market. We all know the roll-on effect of investing in infrastructure. I mean, take, for example, anywhere where you build a road or you build a fuel station, you are likely to see an economy or a community start to form around that infrastructure. And in South Africa, as we have seen during this pandemic, we do have a need for certain essential infrastructure such as road, water, healthcare facilities. We do need to upgrade our ICT capabilities as a country in general. And I think that's where our investment needs to be focused. Because as you'll notice, most of developed economies at this point in time are investing in themselves rather than looking for high yield opportunities, but rather are looking to say, what do we do to get things right here at home before we go offshore?
How do you create an appetite for business to invest locally? Just 2 years ago, we were hearing about an investment boycott. I mean, South African businesses taking their capital outside instead of bringing it in here. How do we, under the current COVID-19 challenges, entice them, incentivize them, encourage them to have the appetite to put in the money internally?
Look, I think the biggest challenge that South Africa has faced have been two issues. One, it has been the inability to trust our government to manage the contributions of business and as well as the normal citizen through taxes into the investment pool. And secondly, it's been policy uncertainty. So I think we need to hear the right policy noises coming out of government in terms of giving us certainty on a myriad of issues that actually exist. An old mentor of mine used to say that business will thrive regardless of how bad the policy is, as long as they are certain on what the policies are. And I think that's one of the things that we have lacked. And secondly, I think on some of the initiatives, there's been an erosion of trust between business and government. And government needs to recognize that and needs to now come to the table to partner with business to deliver on those solutions. And I think that's one of the places where private equity can be critical. Private equity in South Africa has already been deploying capital into infrastructure. And there is an option for government to launch bonds that are linked to the development of healthcare, that are linked to the development of road infrastructure, of water infrastructure, and where the operating and development partner is a private equity fund manager, for example, who still maintains their credibility and the trust that is required to attract capital.
Langa, very briefly, as a private equity practitioner, looking up to Thursday, where we expect the government to announce that economic stimulus packages, what would you want to see coming out of that on Thursday?
I think on my end, first I want to hear sentiment around what they'll be doing in terms of igniting the parts of the economy that are actually going to be the job creators, entities like ICT, because as we have noticed now, even as we are conducting this interview via technology. Technology will be a big part of the future. We want to hear stories and themes around infrastructure investment to stimulate the economy into the future. We have realized during this downturn that we have a healthcare deficit, so we want to hear sentiment around investment into healthcare. We also want to hear what measures we'll be taking to stimulate the new economies that we need to have, which is firstly moving out of only the metropolitans as sites for investment, but also investing into sectors such as agriculture, mineral beneficiation, food processing and security, and others that I think will be pivotal in terms of taking us forward. We also want to hear what packages and measures the government will be putting in place to sustain financial services, which are also the backbone of our economy and driving how it goes forward. But also, I think we also want some clarity in terms of some policies that have been on the hold, because regardless of the stimulus packages that are put into place, if we are not hearing measures on how government is going to manage its own expenditure, if we're not hearing final positions on mining rights and final positions on land ownership, I think while all those stimulus packages will be well thought and well-meaning, without the policy certainty, there will be a lot of us who will be dealing in that environment circumspectly, looking to see how those other facets play out.
Thank you very much, Langa Madonko, for your insights. He's a private equity practitioner. Now, a quick look at the financial markets this morning.